As much as people try to say otherwise, appearance is important. In a society where people develop a first impression that defines what you are to them in mere seconds, perhaps the most terrifying thing one can be labeled in this world is different looking or weird. Diane Arbus once said, "Most people go through life dreading they'll have a traumatic experience, but freaks were born with their trauma. They've already passed their test in life. They're aristocrats." To understand Snapshot by Mary di Michele, we must look at who Diane Arbus is. Mentioned during the first words of the poem, Diane Arbus and her history is important in order to properly examine and identify two important themes that have been reoccurring throughout the year, which is the other and othering, and power relationships. If Diane Arbus hadn't been a woman, she would have had an operation, because a woman understands the body best as surrender to spectacle. The super beautiful, the bearded lady, the tycoon, the tattooed man stretching his skin for canvas, because nothing came between her and her cameras, because she wore them like jeans, shrunk to fit in the bathtub. It makes walking difficult. Because she was swamped in equipment, clumsy as a child playing dress-up, because she waited, balanced in ballet shoes for the right moment. That was her skill. In the first stanza of the poem, a lady named Diane Arbus is mentioned, and it is realized that her endeavors as a photographer will be the main subject of the poem. This American-born photographer is known for taking pictures of people who are considered outcasts: dwarfs, giants, nudists, circus performers, transgender people, and more. At the start of her career, she and her husband were a team of commercial and fashion photographers. However, she didn't find fulfillment in the job, so she switched over to focusing on real people. As the poem points out, in many instances, she was extremely passionate about her work, specifically when di Michele writes, "Because nothing came between her and her cameras, because she wore them like jeans shrunk to fit in a bathtub, because she waited, balanced in ballet shoes for the right moment." It is also known that Arbus suffered from mental health issues, as she had depression and committed suicide in 1971. That was her skill, because she wintered in black leather skirts, because she tried to make love, survive sex orgies, because she is forgotten as a photographer of children, because she worked in fashion, because negative space is hard to get. You thought she was just snapping freaks. She caught what you wouldn't see, your averted eyes, your face behind the box, because knowing how to frame anything alive makes it art, because she felt lost but couldn't remember how it happened, setting the lacia on self-timer, then rushing into her subject's clothes. Knowing who Diane was as a person and a photographer makes the context and themes throughout the poem much more clear. The poem focuses on the themes of the other and othering, as well as relationships between the powerful and the powerless. In this case, the others are the powerless, and the powerless are the people who look different. Snapshot tells a story about how Diane Arbus was a photographer who gave a fighting chance to the other. Di Michele writes that Diane understood the body as the surrender to the spectacle, meaning that you are thought to be only as you look: the super beautiful, the bearded lady, the tycoon, or the tattooed man. But Diane also knew that there was something more to these freaks, as di Michele had described them in stanza 9. As the world looks away, Diane steps closer into their world, capturing what is usually negative space. She brings those who are exiled into the background, into the forefront of her photography, personally telling their stories, empowering them. In a way, di Michele tells two different stories in Snapshot. She tells the story of how Diane photographed freaks and gave them power, and a story behind their exterior. But, just as important, she also tells a story about how the woman who gave them this power felt lost too, and needed to feel accepted as much as they did, in a world that accepts only the beautiful and not the different.